Hello everyone. If you have a startup idea which is very unique and you think that it is competitive, so now it's time to test the waters. You need to build the app for your startup idea and then you need to launch it to test how your idea is in the market to a small group maybe. But how can you do this very quickly? So there are multiple options that are available in the market to quickly bootstrap your startup idea and then launching it into the market. In this video, we will see two such options on how to quickly develop a prototype or even a minimum viable product of your startup idea and launch it to the market. So the first option is using Firebase. So most of you might have come across this word Firebase. It is a product from Google, especially uh, it it is a backend as a service, BaaS, BaaS. It's backend as a service with which you can build your app, be it a mobile app or a web app. So you can use the Firebase backend and you can build your app for your startup idea and you can test the waters on how your idea behaves in the market. So if at all, if you are using Firebase, how does the architecture would look like? So basically, if you have a technology startup idea and if you want to build an app, there are some key components that are required for your app. Though it's a backend as a service, you need a database to store all the data related to your application. And then you need a piece of code to be written to handle the business logic. And then you need a website or the brand site which socializes about what is your product is all about and what does this application do and what is the problem statement that you are trying to solve. And you also need an authentication, be it username password authentication or mobile number OTP authentication or authentication via social media. And you also need to have real-time notifications when you when you add some data to the database or when data changes in the database. You also need some triggers to happen in your business logic which will render the screens in the app accordingly. And last but not least, you might need a storage to hold all the media content like images, videos, audios, etc. So now we will look into a quick architecture of how this kind of solution can be built using Firebase. So I'll start from the right and move towards left. On the right, if you see, Firebase provides two types of database. One is the real-time database and the other one is Firestore database. If your application needs a structured data and if you have a very specific data model, then the right option would be to use Firestore database. It is trusted by enterprises and more than 2.5 million users use Firestore database, and this metrics is from Firebase website. On the other hand, if your app doesn't need any structured data to be handled and it's more like a JSON data, and if you need real-time updates and notifications on the data changes that is happening, then you can prefer using a real-time database. So both Firestore database and real-time database are document databases using JSON documents. Next comes the Firebase functions. As I said, your application might need to handle some business logic. So whatever kind of business logic that is required, you can create it as a function and deploy it into Firebase functions rather than writing a whole application in Node.js or in Java Spring Boot tech stack. You could simplify it by writing a function and then hosting it in Firebase functions. So now you are done writing your Firebase function. But whenever this function is triggered, you need to authenticate whether a valid user access this function. For that purpose, you can integrate with Firebase authentication. So the users coming into your application will be logging in using Firebase authentication and they'll be getting a access token which will be presented every time when they access the Firebase function. And that token will be validated in the Firebase function by connecting to Firebase authentication service. Next comes the storage. So be it your mobile app or a web app where you need to store any media contents like pictures, images, videos, then you could leverage the Firebase storage. So from the mobile app and from the web app, you can directly integrate with the Firebase storage to store all the media contents. And then the last one is the hosting. Firebase provides a hosting option where you can host your websites, brand sites, static pages, single page applications written using React, Vue, YJS. So this is the high level architecture for your startup application using Firebase. So Firebase comes with two pricing options. So if you want to just try it out, uh, develop a POC, or even to develop an MVP for a small targeted group of very few handful of users, then you can always choose the free plan, which is also called as the Spark plan within Firebase. It is absolutely free and it includes up to 10 GB of hosting, and you can have multiple sites, and it also provides you a custom domain. So this is what is offered in the Spark plan. But there is a caveat. When your application is targeted to a specific group, and if you find it to be successful, and if you want to scale your application to multiple such groups or to a wider market, then you need to choose the Blaze plan, because while scaling there are limitations within the Spark plan that you cannot authenticate more than certain number of users, you cannot have more than certain GB of database storage, etc. So then you need to choose the Blaze plan, which is pay as you go plan, but it is a little bit costlier when compared to other options available in the market. And the better choice would be to rewrite your entire application using Google Cloud or any other cloud provider, which will provide you a solution at much more lower price. So for the detailed comparison between Spark plan and Blaze plan, you can refer into the Firebase pricing website. So the next option with which you can quickly build your startup application and test it out is using Supabase. So this is very recent in the market. Uh, it is right now gaining its momentum. Very similar to Firebase, Supabase provides product with which you can build your startup idea. So as I said, basically all you need is a storage, the database storage, as well as a storage container to hold all your media contents, an authentication layer, a place to host your static websites, and a place where you can execute your business logics. So Supabase provides all those components with which you can quickly bootstrap your startup application. The architecture would look very similar except for the change in components. So instead of a no SQL database, here with Supabase you will have a database option that is built on top of Postgres, which is highly an RDBMS solution. So if your application has any needs to maintain asset properties of the database, then this one would be a good choice. And when you create a database in Supabase, it by default exposes APIs so that you can do all the CRUD operations in the database using those APIs. Next comes something called as edge functions. It is very similar to the serverless, wherein all your business logic and the logic to process the data into database can go in here. So any small piece of code to handle the business logic, you can create it as a function using edge function, and you can authenticate that via using Supabase auth. So as of doing this video, Supabase provides three methods of authentication. One is using username password, the other one is using social media, and third one is using passwordless, which is like using OTPs. And then to host your websites, again you can use edge functions, and Supabase provides a storage option to store your contents and media data types. And you can have your mobile apps directly accessing the edge function, which will be authenticated via Supabase authentication provider. So when it comes to the deployment and the pricing options, Supabase provides three types of hosting and deployment options. One is free hosting, wherein it will be very suitable for a startup developer wherein he or she can create two free organizations, and within each organization they can run a starter instance absolutely at no cost. Again, it comes with the limitations, and then there are some various managed hosting options which comes with a cost, and it also provides some additional features and extra resources. And third option is self-hosting option, the entire super base tech stack with which you can build your application can be hosted by yourself, and it is absolutely comes as an open source. But the caveat is you need to manage your hosting. So it can be hosted as a Docker, or it can be hosted in any of the three big cloud providers. So the self-hosting component with Supabase is absolutely free, but the underlying compute cost is something that you need to pay. So what is the recommended technologies stack for your startup idea? So as I said, there are two options, Firebase versus Supabase, but the choice of choosing one between the two is absolutely with yourself. So based on various parameters, the costing options, the amount of money that you have for your startup, which is your hard earned money that you have saved for yourself, right? So with all those factors, you can decide between Firebase and Supabase. On my personal opinion, if I want to run a startup and if I want to quickly test my startup idea, then I would choose Supabase over Firebase because it doesn't have any vendor lock-in. On the other hand, if I want to have community support and extensive community support and wide range of integration options, then I would choose Firebase. With that, we have come to end of this video. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and do not forget to subscribe to our channel Mice Tech Geeks. And to get any updates related to the latest technology trends, scan this QR code and join our WhatsApp channel Mice Tech Geeks. Thank you.